Welcome back to Undefendable. We're going to be going over Raveness, a quick guide on how you can kick the crap out of your opponents, put them in awkward decisions, punish their mistakes, and build value over time. She is going to be the hero for you if you like any of what I just said. She doesn't rely on massive raw damage swings, but rather value, tokens, status manipulation, and then swinging turns via her Nevermore engine. With that said, we are going to hop straight into her leaflet, and we're going to spend a little bit of time on Nevermore because this one is pretty sweet. Nevermore is a companion, meaning it cannot be removed. It's not a status effect. You can just, what's that status effect? It is going to be around for the entire game. Nevermore joins the Raveness in battle as an instrument of chaos. When Nevermore is activated, the Raveness may choose one. Move Nevermore to a chosen player. Absorb Vitality. Absorbed by Vitality may only be chosen while Nevermore is on an opponent. For each instance of absorbing, increase Nevermore's dial by 1, a max of 3. Then that opponent receives 1 as an isolated source of undefendable damage. Whenever Nevermore is moved back to Raveness, heal the amount of Nevermore's dial. Then reduce the dial to 0. If an opponent has Nevermore, they must roll 1 die during their upkeep phase. This is called the Nevermore die roll. And then based on the result, these are the effects that will happen. On a 1, that opponent gains Hex, which is right down here. And we'll talk about that in a sec. On a 2, the Raveness may activate Nevermore 2 times. On a 3, Raveness may activate Nevermore once. On a 4, that opponent discards 1 card of their choice. On a 5, that opponent loses 1 CP, then Raveness gains 1 CP. Something to note there, if they don't have any CP, you would still gain 1 CP. And then on a 6, reduce Nevermore's dial to 0, then return Nevermore to Raveness. So we definitely don't want 6s on the Nevermore die roll, which is why we have feathers. Feathers, positive stats effect, stack limit of 5. A player with these tokens may spend them at any time to activate a variety of effects. 1 feather token, force the Nevermore die to be re-rolled. So if they roll a 6 on that, you just say, you cash in a feather and say, nope, re-roll it. If they roll another 6, nope, re-roll it, because these are very easy to get. 2 tokens, increase or decrease the value of the Nevermore die roll by 1. So let's say they roll a 2, and you want them to have Hex, you can spend 2 of these feathers, right? 1, 2. And you say, I'm going to decrease that down to 1, and then they're going to be hexed. Very strong. And then on 3 tokens, activate Nevermore. And this is generally going to be used when you're going to be gaining feathers on your turn so that you can make room for that ability. Or on your defense, right? They swing at you, Nevermore's on them with 3 stacks. You can use this ability to activate it, bring Nevermore back to you to heal for 3, right? So really unique ways you can work around the feathers. And then last but not least, Hex, unique status effect, can be removed. 6s are considered blanks. A player afflicted with this token must treat all of their die faces with a 6 as if those faces are completely blank instead. At the conclusion of their turn, remove this token. This token may not be transferred by any means. Very strong effect. We'll kind of go over that. But ultimately, if you're playing against a hero who relies on 6s a lot, like Rogue or Barbarian, Wolverine, this is going to be a complete shutdown, right? So that's where you're going to use Nevermore on your opponent. Use the feathers to get them onto a 1 to get Hex, so that then they just are completely, basically shut down, right? Her dice are going to be 3 talons, 2 wings, and a raven eye. Now, let's go over her abilities really quickly, because these are also fun too. Woohoo! I love new heroes. Okay, so, ability number 1, Peck. 5, 6, 7, defendable damage. On 4 of a kind, activate Nevermore. You're not going to be doing this very often. Murder of Crows. 2 claws, right? 2 talons, 2 wings, or 2 talons, 2 talons, 3 wings. Deal 5 damage, defendable, and roll 4 die, and then do these effects. Foul Friend on 4 wings. draw a card, gain 4 feathers, activate Nevermore 2 times. Raven Sight is 2 Talons and 2 Raven Eyes. Activate Nevermore, deal 3 undefendable damage. Small Straight, gain a feather, deal 8 defendable damage. Large Straight, gain 2 feathers, activate Nevermore, deal 9 damage. The mini alt is activate Nevermore 2 times and deal 7 undefendable damage. Her ultimate, activate Nevermore 3 times, inflict Hex, deal 13 undefendable damage. And then her defense, which honestly looks pretty minimal, but is actually fairly consistent, because you're typically going to be hitting, you're always going to hit at least one of these, but a lot of times you're going to hit 2, which is kind of nice. And when you can like activate Nevermore or prevent 2 and deal 2 back, it's a pretty consistent situation there. So let's go over her cards real quickly, and then we'll kind of go over the general game plan, right? So her abilities are right here. What you notice down there is there's not a lot of 6 chasing, right? Raven Sight is not your go-to ability, so upgrading any of these or upgrading your mini alt isn't really that great. So the Chamber 2, really not that worth it. Raven Sight, really not that worth it. Peck, not worth it. I would say this upgrade here, the Large Straight, is not a terrible option. I would also say the Small Straight is not a terrible option to upgrade, because you get an additional feather and 9 damage. And you're going to be rolling large and small straights occasionally based on your strategy. So those are not terrible upgrades if you have them. I would probably lean more towards the Large Straight, because the odds of you rolling into the Large Straight, having Pluck, and then Foul Friend are going to be really, really strong. But the Small Straight for 2 CP isn't bad either. One thing you'll notice with Raveness is she gets a lot of CP, mostly just because kind of you're hanging out and you're waiting for stuff to happen and you're using feathers to steal CP, etc. So you generally will have a lot of CP. Also, your main effect or ability draws you a card, so you're always going to have the option of selling cards to get CP as well. The upgrade is actually pretty, for defense, is okay, because instead of having to get 2 Talons, you only need 1. Again, if you have the CP, that's good. Murder of Crows is good as well. Between Murder of Crows and Beguile, the Small Straight, the Large Straight, and Murder of Crows are all solid, but the main card and the main ability that you want to upgrade is Foul Fiend. This card is absolutely busted. The skill is absolutely busted, right? Gain max feathers, draw a card, activate Nevermore 3 times. And I'll show you how that works when we get into the general game plan. But this is literally, if you can roll this Birds of a Feather, 5 wings, you increase feather stack limit by 1, then you activate this as well. Absolutely busted. This will snowball every single game if your opponent cannot keep up with you, and I'll show you how that works. So priority here would be Foul Fiend, likely your Small Straight, and then any of these if you find them. I would sell these 3 if they show up and you need CP. As for your card abilities over here, Midnight Dreary is roll 5, gain feathers, activate Nevermore. If you need feathers, or this is fine. It also means like you can spend 3 feathers on your turn, play this, and probably gain 3 feathers back and not lose it. So this is basically potentially activating Nevermore at least 2 more times, which is pretty good. For 1 CP, that's not bad. Nevermore attack. Activate Nevermore, then choose if the player that Nevermore is on heals 2 or takes 2. So this is basically dealing 3 damage or healing for 3, depending on when you time this, whether Nevermore is on your opponent or on you. So heal for 3 or deal 3 damage outside of the main phase, which is pretty nice. Cole, fantastic card. It basically just changes the value of the Nevermore die to a whatever you want it to be. Most of the time you're going to use this to change the value of that die to a 1 if you don't have the feathers or the reroll opportunities. This is a very strong card and can really screw your opponent over, which is fantastic. And then Broken Stillness is good. Activate Nevermore. It's a 1 CP Nevermore activation, which can come in clutch. You generally can use this on your opponent's turn. If Nevermore is on your opponent with 3 stacks, you can activate this to bring it back to you and heal for 3, right? So I really use this more so as a finish them off by pecking them for 1 more damage, or activating Nevermore to come back to me on my defense so that I can heal for 3 and hopefully save my life, right? This card's really, really good as well. When you're not rolling or getting Foul Fiend, you're likely going to get your Murder of Crows, your small straights, or your large straights. And that's the moment where you want to activate Stonebeak because it makes your attack undefendable and adds 1 damage, but only if Nevermore is on the target you're attacking, which is going to be 99% of the time if you play Raveness correctly. You never want Raveness on you, really ever. You basically want to summon Raveness back, heal, and then send it back immediately. You do not want her on you more than outside of healing and going back, just a note. And then just a basic attack modifier, roll 5, gain a feather, and then deal additional damage. So, okay. So let's go back down to here and let's go over some just general gameplay stuff for Raveness. I know we talked about the abilities and the opportunities here. We'll kind of go over how Nevermore operates and functions. So the main objective is Foul Fiend. That is what you want to do. That is what you want to roll every single turn. Every single turn, this is what you want to roll, especially if you're facing opponents that have engines where they're a little bit slower or a little bit more control-y, or they need take time to build up. This is just going to completely outvalue your opponent and give you the opportunity to build up your hand, get really strong, and manipulate what they do with your Nevermore die roll and your hexes, right? If you do not get Foul Fiend, you're likely going to fall back to Murder of Crows, small straight, or large straight. And that's really kind of how she works. You may get Raven Sight occasionally, but that's not one that you're rolling for. You may get Chamber occasionally, but if you notice, right, these ones are not wildly strong. They're good as undefendable damage, but so is Foul Friend. So like even like these undefendable attacks, I would rather have Foul Friend because it's also undefendable, and I'll explain why. So let's say we start our turn, and actually, you know what? This will be fun. We start our turn. We're just going to throw these back into the deck, and we'll kind of show you how it works. I don't know why I wasn't doing this earlier. So we're going to roll, or we're going to shuffle, draw 4. Fantastic. We'll spend that to double up. We'll draw 2. And yeah, we're looking pretty good. We got it twice as wild. We have Stonebeak for undefendable. We have Getting Paid. We have Nevermore, which is actually pretty decent in this scenario because I can activate Nevermore and deal 2 damage. Unfortunately, I don't have the 2 CP to do so. I could potentially use Getting Paid here to just upgrade Murder of Crows, but that is not my objective. My objective is Foul Fiend, and that's what I want to do. So let's go ahead and go right into the roll phase. There's nothing else I want to do here. And our objective is Foul Fiend. Holy cow, what do you know? We rolled right into it. Foul Fiend, turn 1, we're going to go ahead and do it. They say, yeah, that's cool. So now I draw a card. I gain 4 feathers. And then I activate Nevermore 2 times. So one activation is I send Nevermore over to my opponent. And then the second activation is I ping them for 1. So they just took 1 damage, and now Nevermore is on my opponent. I also have 4 feathers, which I'm going to use to control the Nevermore die roll. So now that's the end of my turn, or that's the end of my roll phase. So now it comes back over to me. Part of me is like, I kind of want to activate this Nevermore attack just to do it, but I'm going to hold on to it and I'm going to pass. Okay. So now this is where things get fun. My opponent has Nevermore on them. And with Nevermore on them, if you remember this, if an opponent has Nevermore, they must roll a die at the beginning of their upkeep. And based on that roll, we're going to do some stuff. So let's go ahead and roll 1 die as the opponent. And they rolled a 4. So on a 4, the opponent discards one of their cards of their choice. Now I may say, yeah, that's cool. I kind of like that. And they would discard a card. Or I really want to control this or activate. So 1s and 2s, I think, are your most powerful option. So I'm going to spend 1 feather, right? 1 feather and force the Nevermore die roll to be re-rolled. So they're going to re-roll. They rolled a 3. Then on a 3, Raveness may activate Nevermore. So I'm like, okay, that's not terrible. But, and again, I probably wouldn't do this here, but I want to show you how this would work. I'm now going to spend 2 feathers, and I'm going to decrease this down to 2. And they say, okay, yeah, I can't do anything. So now, on that upkeep, Nevermore is going to be activated twice. So ping, ping. So I just ping them for 2 more damage on their turn. Right? So pretty cool. And I still have 1 feather left, which is kind of nice. If I do decide to go Foul Fiend again, or Foul Friend, I will go up to a stack limit of 5, which is great. So let's say they come at me with defendable damage. We're going to roll, and then we are only going to hit them back for 2 damage here. So we hit them back for 2. Okay? Now it comes back over to us. We gain a CP. We draw a card. Nice. We found the defensive upgrade, which is nice. We have getting paid, which is nice. I'm not going to do any of that at the moment. But here's another scenario with this Nevermore attack, right? Nevermore is currently on my opponent. I could potentially play this card and activate Nevermore to come back to me. Nevermore would come back to me. I would heal for 3, and then I would heal for 2 more because of this card. So I would heal 5 from that. And then I would potentially use Foul Fiend to go back over to them and do that process. I could also, with Nevermore on them in this moment, I could activate Nevermore, and I could ping them. Just because Nevermore is at 3 does not mean it has to return to me and go down to 0 and go back over. It's a max stack limit of 3, but I can still just continually keep pinging them with damage while it's on them. So in this same vein, I could play Nevermore, and I could activate it 1 time, pinging them for 1 more damage, and then dealing 2 more damage to them as well. So, in this scenario, what I would likely do, I probably wouldn't play this here, just because I don't need to. But just to actually, you know what? Screw it. Just to show you the process, we'll play Nevermore attack. Now, again, now I'm at 0 CP, so I probably wouldn't do it here. But actually, sorry. Let's just rewind. We're going to leave it as it is, and we're going to play this like it's a normal scenario. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and roll. I'm going to keep a 5 because, again, my objective is to go for Foul Fiend. Ooh. Okay, well, that is interesting. I have 2 CP. I have a getting paid. So I might just, you know what? Let's just go this. We'll go getting paid. Twice as wild. And we will do our ultimate. Because why not? Now my opponent has a chance to mod me off of it. Maybe they have a tippet. Maybe they have whatever. Let's assume they have a tippet. Okay, this one's fine. And this is where we want to evaluate the value, right? 7 undefendable, and then I'm activating Nevermore 2 times. Or I can do 13, inflict a hex, and activate it 3 times. So I'm absolutely same-Zing it to a 6 and going for my ult. I'm activating Nevermore 3 times. So during this process, I'm going to bring Nevermore back. I'm going to heal for 3. So that's 1 activation. And then I'm going to send it back for my second activation and ping them for 1. So that's, ready? 1, 2, ping them for 1, 3. That's the 3rd activation down there. I'm going to inflict them with a hex, and then I'm going to deal 13 damage to them, which is just absolutely fantastic. I am eating right now. Absolutely eating. We are doing really good. And guess what has not happened during this whole process? My opponent has not activated their defense once. Not 1 time. Because this doesn't activate their defense, and then the ultimate and undefendable doesn't activate their defense. So that's really kind of how the turns would work. Now, just to walk you through this process here, I only have 1 feather, which is okay. I'd probably sell Murder of Crows to gain a CP, and then I would probably just sit on this for now. Now, my opponent still has to roll for their Nevermore die, because I have Nevermore on them, but they already have a hex on them because of the ultimate that I did. So they're going to roll their Nevermore die. Of course they're going to roll a 6. I'm going to have them, I have 1 feather left. I'm going to have them re-roll it. They roll a 2. I activate Nevermore 2 more times, hitting them for 2 more damage. So now they're going into this turn, right? Their first turn, I pinged them. Their second turn, they now have a hex on them, and they have, and they took 2 damage. So I'm kind of sitting pretty here, right? I'm sitting pretty good. Now, let's just say it comes back over to me. I gain a CP. I draw a card. We have a knot this time, so we're just eating right now, boys. We are just freaking eating right now. And again, this is a scenario where I can use the Nevermore attack, right? So let's just assume I probably, again, wouldn't do this, but this is going to be my last turn. I'm going to activate the Nevermore attack. I'm going to bring it back to me, heal for 3, and then heal for 2 more because of this card. And now we've already healed for 8 this game. We're looking okay. 2, 3, 4. So traditionally, I just want to go Foul Friend, full transparency. This isn't bad. It would get me into the straights, but again, play this as if I'm playing it. I mean, yeah, I got to go with that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As I mentioned, if you're keeping a lot of these wings, you're probably going to roll into these naturally. So we're going to keep the large straight roll 2. They're going to say, oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. We're going to get 2 feathers, activate Nevermore to send it over to my opponent and ping them, and then deal 9 damage, right? So now they're defending for the very first time here. But now I have 2 feathers on them, and I have 2 feathers on me, and I have Nevermore on them. So in this scenario, guess what they have to do at the start of their turn? They have to roll a Nevermore die. Oh, you rolled a 2. I'm going to spend 2 to make this a 1. Oh, crap. Okay, now that it's a 1, you've now been hexed again. So you've basically, the last 2 turns, you don't have any 6s. You've only defended once in 3 turns, and I'm just eating. I've already been healing. I've already been doing a lot of damage. I have a knot this time, and I have an upgrade coming, so on and so forth, right? So that is really how the game plan is going to work. I would say Raveness is going to do really good in matchups against heroes that rely a lot on their defense, heroes that rely a lot on 6s, and heroes that, typically have struggle getting a lot of CP to manipulate dice and things like that. Where she may struggle is heroes that are extremely aggressive and that don't rely on 6s, right? So heroes that can just burst her down, or if she can't get this engine going and get the feathers going, she could potentially be outpaced. So that is really a breakdown of Raveness. I appreciate you guys watching. Don't be afraid to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have other strategies or thoughts on this as well, I would love to hear them. But I'm very excited for Raveness. And remember, roll for Foul Fiend, roll for Foul Fiend, roll for Foul Fiend, and then take the large straight or the small straight when you need it, especially when you can Stonebeak for undefendable damage. All right, have a good one. See ya.